Hi, and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today I got a 2008. It's a Chevy Impala. Customer came in for just some basic service and they wanted the tires rotated and the brakes checked, and it does need front brakes. So I'm going to bring you up front. I'm going to show you what to do step by step. This is a fairly easy job. If you follow my directions, you'll knock it out without any kind of complications whatsoever. So let me bring you up front, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do step by step to get this job done. Okay, this is the obviously this is the front, and what we're going to do is we're going to take out this bolt in the back right here and here. But before we do that, we're going to push these brake pads back in so we can actually check to make sure that they're sliding properly up in here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come up in the front here. We're going to take off this Torx right here. We're going to remove this so we can take the rotor off the car. So all right, let me get some tools and get set up, and we'll come right back and get this job started. Okay, now this is actually the right side of the car. This is the passenger side that we're going to do here. Now I just want to give you an example of what tools you're going to need before we do anything. This is what you're going to need. You're going to need a screwdriver, an 18mm wrench, probably a 15mm socket on a ratchet, a 13mm ratchet, a pry bar, a hammer, and this is a breaker bar just in case you have trouble taking off the nuts on here. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up underneath by the brakes in here, and we're going to pry back right here on the rotor. We're going to pry back just to make sure that the pistons push back in on the caliper without any problems. They go in slow, but they are going in. What we do is just tap it back a little bit, and you can put your pry bar or your screwdriver, whatever you have in here, and you can push the pistons all the way back in. Sometimes they're tight, sometimes they're not. These are a little bit snug, but not too bad. All right, so we pushed them all the way back in, almost as far as they can go. Now, before we take this caliper off, we're going to take the Torx out of here. I think it was a 30, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to take that Torx out. And the way you do that, instead of breaking your chops, just take a screwdriver, stick a screwdriver in the rotor like that, and then you grab a Torx. Okay, you grab yourself your Torx, and you put it in right here. And the reason you have the screwdriver in there is because it'll keep the rotor from turning. All right, you just take that out. You don't want to strip it, because if you strip it, you're going to have a problem. So we're just going to take that out of there. Don't lose it, because you're going to need to put this back in. And we're just going to relocate this off to the side for now. All right, then we can take our screwdriver back out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take those bolts in the back right here, the 13mm. We're going to take them out. And break them both loose before you take it out. It's much easier to break them both loose now than to break it loose and then try to unscrew the other one and the caliper is moving all over the place. Don't lose these bolts, because you're going to need to reuse these over again also. Same thing here. Okay, let me grab one thing I forgot to tell you. One thing you never want to do is you never want to let the caliper hang by itself. So what we do is we take a hanger like this, and we support the caliper here so that it doesn't hang by itself. All right, so we just take this off. We just take it out of here and just relocate it off like that. Now the brake pads here, it doesn't really matter. We're going to be changing them, but they are really tight inside here, so we're probably going to be changing this hardware kit here. I got to talk to the customer just to make sure, but we are going to change this hardware kit. Next thing we're going to do is going to take out these two bolts right here. Those are actually 15mm. Now, Remember before I showed you this breaker bar with a socket on it? If you don't have an air gun, you can get on here with this breaker bar on the socket and just break it loose. They are pretty tight, so I mean, if you have a regular 1/2-inch ratchet, that's fine, but they are pretty tight. And once you break them loose, you can just get in here with a regular socket, and we can take these off. Okay. Then after we have them loose, we can take these off. Again, don't lose them. We're going to use these over again. Now I'm going to need 2 hands to do this, so let me grab that. Let's see. Okay. And we'll just push it in a little bit, and we can take it and take that bolt out. We could take this brake mounting bracket off and the brake pads, and we're going to put this to the side for now. The rotor then just comes right off. If it's stuck by any chance, you can bang it in the back, because in this case we are changing the rotors because you can see how bad they are. See how they're not cuttable. So we're going to replace these anyway. Alright, next thing I want to show you is on the back over here, any kind of rust that you have on here, you want to remove it. In this case, it doesn't have any. It's nice and clean, so we're in good shape. All right, and then we're going to grab the replacement now, and we'll start putting it back together. Okay, now that we have our replacement rotor, we take the rotor and just put it right back on the car. And remember, with the rotor, you want to line it up with the bolt that came out of there. So we just put it on like this, hold it in place for now, and then we're going to take our Torx that we previously removed. Now we're going to screw it in by hand. We're not going to use the ratchet yet. Screw it down as far as you can. And what we're going to do is we're going to push the rotor where it belongs here, and then we're going to tighten up the Torx. Now we're going to just snug it in now. We'll just come back to this later and make sure it's nice and tight. Or you can just tighten it up fairly tight like this. Alright, so now our rotor is on. I do want to point this out, that before I put the rotor on here, I cleaned this off with brake cleaner, brake cleaning fluid, back and front, so it's nice and clean. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the hardware kit on the caliper. Okay, now, when you replace the hardware kit, I'm going to move this stuff. Brake pads, we're just going to take them out for now, just like this. Put this off to the side, same thing here. If they're stuck, you can just tap them out. They usually come right out. That's what happened to this one here, is this got rusted into here. Alright, and we take the hardware kit off like this. And we're just going to check in here to make sure there's no rust in here. And as you can see, this is nice and clean. We're going to take our new hardware kit. We're just going to put it back on the way that we previously took it off. And it just pushes all the way in, just like that. Same thing here. Pull this off. Again, check to make sure there's no rust. Nice and clean. Put your new hardware kit back on. It just pushes right in there. And it's right into place. Like that. Now before we put our new brake pads in, we're going to pull these pins out right here. These are actually called slide pins, the caliper slide pins. We're going to pull these out and we're going to lubricate them before we put it back together. Now, I just want to point this out. Most of the time they only can go back, they can go either one. But this one is a little bit different. Oh no, I'm wrong. This one, it doesn't really matter which one goes where. Some of them just have one rubber on here, but this one doesn't really matter. So we're going to lubricate it like this, and we'll put it back in. Same thing here. Just lubricate it here with a synthetic brake and caliper grease, what I use. Then just push this in, and you want to make sure that that boot covers up all the way up to the top like that. You'll see it snaps right in place. Again, snaps right in. All right? Now, any place that the brake pad touches, you want to put some brake caliper grease on here like this. Okay? Anywhere the brake pad touches. Now, I just want to point this out to you. This is the inner brake pad. You can see because here is the inner piston was touching. Make sure you put the correct brake shoe, or pad in this case. See how this has the indicator on here? This indicator is on this side, this indicator is on this side, and not the other. So this goes to the inside like that. And it just pushes in. Now you can put it on now, or you can put it on later, whichever one you want to do. All right, now, this side here, the brake, this is the outer pad, you can see. So you want to make sure you take the outer pad, like this, you see? That's the difference. See, this one is on this side. That's the wrong one. This is the one that we need. This is the pad that goes to the outside. So we're going to take this, and we're going to put this brake pad in here like that also. Now, like I said, you can do it now, or you can do it on the car, whatever works for you. I just want to show you how it goes. And that's how it pretty much how it goes. Obviously that's trash. And now we're going to take this and we're going to put it back on the car. If it falls out, don't worry about it. You can put this back on when it's on the car. All right, let's bring it back over to the car, and we'll put it back together. All right, put the caliper back over the top with the brake pads, and then just squeeze it together, and you put your bolts back in to hold the caliper mounting bracket on. Screw them both on first before you tighten anything up. All right? And then you can just tighten them up. Same thing here. Nice and tight. Same thing on the bottom, we're going to tighten that up. Then we're going to take our caliper and lay our caliper over the top, like this. Now remember, we pushed those pistons back in before, but you see how here it doesn't fit on? It didn't push in far enough. So what we're going to do, is we're going to grab a tool, and I'll show you how that works. Now obviously these are the pads for the other side. But what you basically do is you put the brake pad in here like this, and like this, and I'll show you how that tool works. It just goes in between the brake pads like this, and I'll push the pistons all the way back in. I'll bring it up, I'll show you. See, that's what it does. It pushes the pistons back in by turning it. It pushes the piston in just that little bit that we needed to push it in to get it back over the top. All right, I'm going to take this back off. Take our brake pads out. And then we're going to put our caliper back on. I just want to put this in here, and I'm going to show you one more thing. You may have to push these slide pins back in a little bit to accommodate it. Okay. And then we'll catch both of our 13 millimeter bolts. Catch them both before you do anything. Screw them in by hand as far as you can. And then we can tighten them up. Now, I want to point this out. Sometimes you'll get these slide pins will rotate. You could hold it with an 18 millimeter wrench while you tighten it up so that it doesn't turn. Same thing on the top right here. Alright. Now I'm going to bring you in, I'm going to show you something else. Okay, what I just want to point out is that you wanted to make sure that your brake hose was not twisted, because if you put the hose on and it's twisted, you're going to drive it, you're going to turn the wheel, and you're going to rip the hose right off. Make sure there's no twist in it. Make sure it's nice and straight and not twisted around in the circle. We're going to recap what we did now. The rotor, we put the new rotor on it. We tightened up that Torx, that number 30 Torx bit. We put on our new hardware kit in the mounting bracket. We lubricated every place that the brake pad is going to touch. We lubricated our slide pins, top and bottom. We made sure that the bolt in the back that holds the mounting bracket on, both top and bottom are tight. And then we made sure that the caliper is held back on with those two 13 millimeters. We tightened them up, and just in case this was rotating here, we held that with an 18 millimeter wrench. That's it, you're all set. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go around on the other side, and we're going to repeat the process on the other side. All right, that's pretty much it. All right, thanks for watching. Any questions or comments, send me an email, drop me a line. Be more than happy to talk to anybody about anything. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.